There he is. Come on up, Amit. Ladies and gentlemen, Amit from Curbee. Now, I will say something. One of the first phone calls that I made personally, like when I was putting this thing together, is like this Curbee company. I was out there kind of watching them socially. A friend, an associate that works for them, I had a relationship some other way, so I'm following that guy socially, and I kind of get involved, and I'm like, man, this is perfect. And I thought it was one thing until I checked on it, and it was more than one thing. So I'm really excited to bring this. This is the future. This is the direction we're headed. So, Amit, come on up from Curbee. Thank you. Good to go.
Does this work? We are working, and I got some water. Wait, I thought this was in Texas. Did I mess it up? Too many planes. All right, I'm going to start this with a little energy and a lot of humility as we go through this. So, number one, to be hyper clear, I am not a professional speaker. You will see that very quickly. My wife will remind us also, just in case, because that is not what I do for a living. What I get to do is represent a really badass company that works in the automotive industry with some really cool people that take care of some really great dealers and OEMs. So I say this all the time. We're going to run through about 4 or 5 things, and we're going to make sure that I've been on that side of this fence, for the lack of a better term, for about 22 years, sitting exactly where you're sitting, whether or not it's an OEM rep, whether or not it's being in the field. And I always say that we, no matter what we pay to be here, have to earn the rights to be up here to speak with you. So I'll give you a little background on Curbee and myself so that I can earn the rights to speak with you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about the company. We're going to talk about the shifts fundamentally which are taking place. We're going to talk about the ecosystem of mobile service. And the most simple thing is ask all your friends. Stop overthinking it. Ask every single one of your friends, would you rather me come to you or you come to the dealership? And it sort of level sets everything. We're going to talk about whether or not it makes money, because if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense, right? And then last but not least, we're going to dial this thing in so that we treat this like a sales event. Anybody in here a general manager of a dealership? Some GMs? Any dealer principals? Anybody from sales in here at a Fixed Stop Summit? There's somebody in the back over there that raised their hand. Thanks for doing that. That was brave of you. Another person raising their hand. Brave. How many times as a Fixed Stops person have you been to a sales meeting? A lot. So we're going to talk a little bit about how this works both ways. Okay. Maybe a little advanced help. There we go.
Feel the additional amount in the sense that if you are not put down by ads and this, you have to go to this dealership through debts, right? And like it can't go unused. And then I obviously you want some artificial chaser. The point being that it's just retail right now. You can literally go everywhere and become a mobile service provider in most markets to dealing with not providing mobile service. It's like the opportunity is there to grab. It feels like if I think about return on investment, return on hassle, return on fun, this is arguably the most significant return on time right now to have for dealers. And guess what? In X amount of years from away, every dealer, I ain't saying good go.
Anybody know who that was? Anybody follow car dealership guy? If you're not, your customers are. I think he's got 90,000 Twitter followers or something like that that are average Joe customers. He's on Bloomberg. He's on CNBC. I have no vested interest in this, and I'm not here to make you guys go onto social media per se, but somebody else mentioned LinkedIn, and it is where this industry talks to each other. I would definitely give Yossi and Car Dealership Guy a follow because ultimately this is where the most progressive part of the industry is going. So, advance, if we can get a little help. So we talked a little bit about street credit. You got another one coming? All right, you got it. Perfect. Thank you. let's talk a little bit about street credit. We keep talking about mobile service like it's this brand new initiative that was introduced 2.5 weeks ago, and it's been around for about 100 years. In the 1920s, Cadillac and Chrysler offered mobile service to their customers with Harley-Davidson sidecars and tools in the back of the vehicle, because the dealer network, they looked nothing like that. Fast forward to a little bit more recent history. Back in 2020, we started a company called Curbee. It was a direct-to-consumer company. To be completely clear, we had tools, trucks, and technicians that were competing with the same lunch that you were. We did about 32,000 mobile service visits, Northern California, Southern California, Arizona. And what we needed to do is we needed to know where every single vehicle was all the time. We needed to know if our technicians were doing a walk around, collecting payment, MPI, eating Taco Bell or McDonald's. We needed to know all those things. We also had to make sure that we optimized the routing so that they went in reverse traffic order, they went around bridges that were closed, that they were constantly optimizing for the 18 vehicles we had running in 3 different areas. And so we tried to use every service scheduler out there. And to the point previously that David had, we couldn't find anything that actually allowed us to take all those things in consideration while effectively loading all of the jobs. So we built our own platform. So we did this till 2024, and then we got some phone calls. We got a phone call from General Motors. We got a phone call from a dealer. And we had this dealer who basically said, I walked out Saturday morning to my neighbor. Everyone in here knows that all of your neighbors buy all the cars from you and they have to service for you. It's a part of the HOA, right? So the dealer principal goes out with a cup of coffee, goes to his neighbor, Ford Mach-E. What are you doing? He goes, we're best friends, man. Like, you're my buddy. Why are you serving with this? What is this curbed van? And he goes, brother, I love you. You just don't come to my house. So that dealer picks up the phone and calls us and becomes our first dealership. So we completely shut down all of our direct-to-consumer business, got rid of our trucks, took our software and completely refined it because you guys were asking for it. We don't want to compete with you for your lunch on this. Now, several hundred dealers, about 700 of them in our pipeline, that basically have asked us and made a phone call and said, we got to think about doing this. We work with several brands, but the ingredients at the bottom of this logo carousel is the stew that makes up who we are. The founder of the company was John McNeil, who is from Tesla. He was actually the president of Tesla. He's in the book a lot. If you guys ever read the book with Elon Musk, he was also the COO of Lyft. Dirty little secret, Lyft owns about 32,000 cars, and most of those are serviced via mobile service. A lot of the partners in here know about that. Mike on our team was at Ford, built the Ford program. I grew up at Toyota. I spent 14 years at Toyota, everything from a management analyst to running Scion. And then I was a part of the team that built this digital retailing company called Roadster in 2016 when digital retailing started to become a bit of a thing. So what do? We are here to operationalize you guys to be able to offer mobile service to your customers. We need to make sure that you can get the right vehicle to the right place at the right time at the right job, all to make the right amount of revenue for the right CSI. And we do that in 3 ways, and it's super simple. There's software. We're going to show you that in a couple seconds just to ground us. There's solutions. Solutions is code word in tech, is basically all the things that we have screwed up over the last few years. We just reverse engineer those to best practices. That's what we mean by solutions. And then support. This is not set it and forget it, as you're going to see. And we'll talk a little bit about how we come out and support everybody too. Just to ground everybody, what does it do? We take traffic data. We take the simplicity of the screen that you see on your left-hand side, and we make a 55-second appointment for your BDC, because we all know that 88% of all appointments are still made by your BDC. You take real-time traffic data. You take historical traffic pings. You take the technician certification levels. You take the type of vehicle that you have and make sure that we're constantly synthesizing all of that with artificial intelligence to make sure that you maximize your density and you minimize that drive time. Because when you're driving, you're not making any money. All the while, you can see every single technician on a map, wherever they're at, and the status of every single job with literally no hardware whatsoever. Technician app has to be pushed to proceed or swiped to continue. They cannot fat finger anything in there because they've got a burrito or an oil filter in the other hand. We will optimize every single one of these for your dealer group, your manufacturer, or if anything you want to add during the whole process. There's light customer communications, even a picture of a technician or text messages that come through so that the customer knows that you're on the way. It'll never say the word Curbee on anything. It'll be white labeled for your dealership. All right, enough of what we do and how we do this. Let's zoom out just a little bit here. Told you I wasn't a professional. Okay. At the end of the day, Everybody in here and all of your customers expect everything to be on your phone and come to you. It's pretty simple. We literally live in a world where you cannot order a pizza from Domino's and the fake pizza tracker tells you it's going in the oven, it's out of the oven, and we're doing QA. By the way, I hate to burst bubbles. Maybe put the cameras down for a quick second. We hired that guy at Roadster. The whole thing is fake. Freaking killed me when I thought that QA pizza wasn't being done by Bill. I was really upset by this whole thing. His name is Mohammed, and he's still a nice guy, though, right? Everybody in here is going to pay for convenience. In fact, go look at the last 4 times you ordered Chipotle. One of you might have just ordered it while I'm speaking because I'm boring you to death. But 30% of the cost on that Chipotle burrito that you ordered 3 times last week is delivery and fees. And nobody blinks. Check the stock price. In fact, we were at a Roseville Lexus a couple weeks ago with our whole team. The general manager is baffled. His receptionist makes $21 an hour and orders probably 2 different types of DoorDash every single day and doesn't give a hoot. So let's talk about automotive a little bit more. The cars that are out there, someone else mentioned it, 13.8 years. That's how old the car is on the road today. By the way, just so we're clear, that is the oldest it has ever been in the history of that record keeping. That's the second timing belt. That's the second water pump that we're on now. There's a lot of reasons, and we're going to talk about those in a couple seconds. This room represents the most profitable part of a dealership. Actually, can we get an applause for that? Right? This is the most profitable part of a dealership. We just need to do a little bit more of it. We need us to also do it very efficiently. And then I'm going to let Andy Gulcher next. He's the president of the Chevy Dealer Association, explain the chess move when it comes to service bays.
So when you're getting that from that setting, when you are in some low level jobs, they were coming in set up a getting these so free board to one and put service claims on, even something you need some out of the there. And usually in those headphones job in the bag, driving, whether it's warranty or tough warranty label doesn't better, 5+ hours worth of job. You're going to be able to look at that bag, which now is $40,000 per month of inventory, and we can push this over your 40 or whatever it is. But then this becomes the procurement of the we go to see. It's not just the workings if you start example that's passing. Also, only 100%. Yeah, I think that most people don't take it to that.
So we just talked about service bays. Anybody here installed service bays at a car dealership? Most of you have. Come on, give me something. How much does a service bay cost? $30,000, you said? Sorry, that's what I heard. Call it 20. After the land, the planning, the permits, the 6 months of construction, the disruption of the 3 bays around it that you were going to put in, reels, that's why Andy Gulcher said it's about a $200,000 investment every time you do that. Keep that in mind. We're going to do a little math. I'm Indian. I better be good at math. This is a new profit center. To be clear, it literally has no walls. There might be some OEM reps in here, maybe not, but the OEM reps are going to call you every time you sell a car out of your PMA. Guess what? You shouldn't have sold that car already. When you're service, go get them all. Go get every single one of them. We're going to talk about that because there's a lot of other folks trying to eat your lunch here. Let us be clear. There's several companies in here that will evangelize this. Recalls are the gateway drug to mobile service. There's 78 million open recalls in the United States right now. About 22 million of them are just software updates and inspections. This is a used Corolla, Starlink, and Dealer Daily. In 2 weeks, you're out doing nothing but major recalls. We confuse the living heck out of this because we keep talking to ourselves as an industry. We just had somebody talking about my wife's a doctor. She complains about the way that they schedule things on ERP and electronic medical records. And we keep confusing ourselves with the fact that this is an automotive thing. That customer has already made the decision with Uber, with DoorDash, with Chipotle, with Amazon, with BarkBus. Yeah, the guys that are actually shaving your dog's hair in your driveway. And my neighbor 2 days ago had somebody cutting their hair out of the back of a vehicle in their neighborhood. And everybody came outside because that's what happens in cul-de-sacs, right? And then last, don't throw anything at me just yet. It is not your fault, but that service loyalty and retention is declining. Does anybody disagree with that? I'm going to take that as a no. I don't disagree with that. It's not your fault. It's because of the 16. It's a simple ratio. I told you, Indians math, they like this stuff. So, there we go. Okay. So today, none of the folks in this room are essentially your competition, if you think about it. There are 300,000 independents in the United States right now. Let that sink in for a second. There's 18,300 of us in here that are combating those independents. That means for every single time the person leaves their home to drive to your dealership, there are 16 choices along the way. 16. So I think we have to be honest with ourselves when we talk about this. And by the way, those 300,000 independents are all looking at the exact same data that we are. Oldest vehicles in the road, some of the other data points coming up in a couple seconds. They've gone up by 30,000 just in the last 3 years. Dealerships have gone down. I don't know, what is it, 2009, 2010, where we had 28,000 car dealerships, and now there's 18,300? By the way, everyone's reading the exact same data. Remember the second water pump we were just talking about? Remember the second timing belt we were just talking about? Average age of the car, super old. There's a bunch of reasons why. And most of these vehicles, the largest UIO that we have seen, are no longer in warranty. So, I sort of asked this question. With all humility, next slide, please. All right, stay right there. I asked this question with a significant amount of humility. Dealer principals, general managers, receptionists. Are you 16 times closer to the customer than the independent? Are you 16 times easier to book an appointment than the independent who doesn't require an appointment? He's got a sign out there that he could flip, really cool. Are you 16 times faster than the independent around the corner? Are you 16 times more convenient? Are you 16 times cheaper than that independent that we're referring to? So we have to understand our market. We have to understand this ecosystem if we're going to combat it. We just can't live off of the warranty of this, right? So let's talk about how this service model has to evolve. Every single day, we're seeing this fundamental shift take place. Doesn't matter what the headline is because of the roller coaster we're about to see, but everyone's coming back home now. This is the sexiest room in the automotive industry right now. Sans me, outside there, you guys are always sexy. Because everybody needs us to be better. They need us to be more efficient. They need us to squeeze more of the most profitable aspect of the business out of it, because who knows what's going on the other side of the industry. We're not going to compete on the location. We are going to compete and win on convenience. It's that simple. So what are we talking about doing out there in the field? We've ran the opcode analysis across hundreds of dealers, thousands of ROs, many, many appointments. About 37% of what you do in a dealership can be done in the field. So stick with me because it's filters, fluids, flushes. I know we don't use the word flushes. Brakes, bulbs, batteries, oil changes, tire and wheel, and like we said, the 22 million recalls you can do with a used Corolla, Starlink, and a laptop. And the proof is in the results. Most of our dealers, about 45 to 60 days in, do 5 to 7 appointments per day. That's not ROs. It doesn't matter if you're a Chevy or a Ford store, or if you're a Ewing Subaru who does this in Plano, Texas. Somebody else has your vehicles. There's a dealer in the auto mall that might have a few of your used vehicles that you can go do. As soon as you go make that appointment and you're going to the Chevy location and you're knocking out 3 Camry recalls, those 5 to 7 appointments go to 7 to 10 ROs per day. We talk about additional recommendations. I think almost everybody in here raised their hand when they talked about video MPIs, right? One of the questions we always get, yeah, but who's going to talk to the customer about upselling? How are video MPIs doing for everybody in here? Great, right? Who's talking to the customer on a video MPI? The least salesy human being you've ever met is knocking them down, right? All day. By the way, first one that sells you tires is the one that tells you about tires. You go to someone's house and you go to and start this divorce conversation between husband and wife. I see that your wheels have been curbed. Nope, I never did it. She did not. No one did that. That just somehow magically happened. But then you show someone the inner wear of the tire and you show them, look, you don't necessarily need this tire today, but you probably want to take a look at this. By the way, the best trick is, and it's not a trick, it's an actual valid proof point, is when you're doing an oil change and you take the cabin air filter and you say, the cabin air filter is fine for about 2 more weeks. No problem. You give us a call. It takes about an hour. Come into the dealership, $79. I just said 3 things that you hate. Call me, come to me, and wait for me. Well, how much is it now? $79. Do you have it in the van? That plumber effect is real. 4.7 out of 5. I have no idea where the 0.3 is. I'm still trying to find it because who's not happy when everything comes to you? The average mobile service visit through the platform is about 55 minutes. This is from Ford's data, by the way. I think they have 8 to 10 years of data. 92% of customers that actually get a mobile service appointment within 1 year will either get another one or will come back to your dealership, right? Because we need the gravy work. All right. We got to get into the numbers because you may not believe me if I don't start throwing a bunch of numbers at you. Well, we know that this is real right now. We know that this side of the business is a roller coaster. Not anybody's fault. It's a market condition. It is what it is. Whether or not it's taxes, interest rates, tariffs, EVs, no EVs. Wait, EVs again? Gas prices? Yeah, I can't figure this thing out. The average car costs over $55,000 and the payments are over $700. Now do you see why the cars are 13.8 years old? We got a K-shaped economy, which means they are getting richer and they are not. So you throw all of that on that roller coaster and you're going to have people having 14 to 15-year-old cars pretty soon. You think those independents are going to let you just keep taking that business? No. All right, stick with me on the eye chart. That is what we call at Curbee the McKinsey slide. The reason we call that is because a publicly traded dealer group, which I can't name, asked a big consulting company for the future of automotive mobile service fixed ops and probably paid $250,000. I don't have the actual number. They paid us $2,500 and we gave them a slide. And this is what we said to them. If we can be honest with ourselves, if you were to start in this business today, would you do it the same way when it comes to service and parts? Because I get to the dealership and a greeter says hello. The porter helps get the vehicle in front of an ASM and the ASM does a walk around and talks me through what's going to take place. That porter then has to get the vehicle back over to the technician who works on this car for about 38 minutes. Then that porter brings the vehicle back over to the customer and then the ASM helps me close out, shows me that cabin air filter thing, and then walks me over to a cashier. Maybe using Mark Karma or Techion or one of these cool technologies that truncated those last 2 things. But you said you paid $200,000 for that bay. You're probably paying for some loaner cars. So just so we're clear, 1 appointment, 8 touch points, 5+ people getting paid. By the way, no service manager was on that thing also, so we screwed up. For an average appointment by NADA and JD Power, which is now 2.5 hours at a car dealership, for an average RO of $479. So when we're talking about efficiency, that operational efficiency starts to lead to the capital efficiency. Because this is where I sit here, and I genuinely mean this with humility as a learner every single day. I mean, I grew up with Kaizen. I've got to do this. I don't understand how this doesn't make money. Because when you close your eyes and you sort of come back up again, it's an appointment with the tech. Takes about 55 minutes. Average RO in our platform is $321. And we're probably wrong with one person getting paid because you like getting paid too. I like you getting paid also. Fewer people touching it, same type of work. Okay, so as a ex-factory rep who worked in the market rep department, as somebody who has probably done 400 or 500 pro formas, I can tell you that even Mr. Dealer Principal, who's done a couple of pro formas, doesn't believe his own pro forma either. No one ever believes him, but we keep doing them. So then we did the back of the napkin math when we're at these events. We're constantly training dealers, and we just throw up the back of the napkin math. And you could throw BS flags at this all day long, and it'd be a great conversation to have. But if you were to go take the average RO of $300 and you did 6 appointments per day, you're generating an average revenue of about $36,000 per month. So let's talk about the cost side of this. The technicians that are used in mobile service are not master diagnostic technicians in world class, to be fair. I don't like the word C&D technicians because it's unfair. I think they're level 3 and level 4, lube techs, things of this nature. So these guys are getting paid on the average across the country about $75,000. That's a $6,000. Your vehicle, go grab the most incentivized vehicle that you can grab, your sales teams know that you already are, and then you do a $20,000 upfit and you amortize that across the entire 12-month program. By the way, have your sales department help participate in this because you just put a rolling billboard out there that actually has a value proposition that people give a hoot about, right? Mobile service. You're going to spend an extra $500 in marketing on just mobile service. Starlink costs $499, but for some reason you like paying more and you're paying $750. We cost about $1,400 a month. Consumables, these are mats, these are gloves, these are heat pads, these are cool pads, extra fuel and charging. And you're looking at costs of about costs of about 13 grand and about a $23,000 or $24,000 gross profit. Cut it in half if you want, because that's all we always do in this industry. Cut it in half, like QVC over here. But you're still looking at about $120,000, $130,000 of gross profit. By the way, I have not taken into consideration any of the OEM subsidies at Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, and some of the other ones that are coming down the pipe. I have not taken into consideration anything to do with the fact that you just got every $200 RO out of your shop, and now you're bringing in the $60K on a 4Runner that takes about 9 days to get an appointment for. Go back. Can I go back? Don't do it right now because you'll really stop paying attention to me. But there's a QR code up there. If you were to go to that QR code, it goes to the ROI calculator that we have on our website that all of you can play this out with if you want on your own. All right. So as a guy who grew up at Toyota, I was a management trainee, was a district service and parts manager, was a district manager, and then just sort of kept going because I was willing to move to places. The one thing I learned is whenever something wants to get done and the GMs are ready to go, man, are they willing to rally around a sales initiative. Isn't it funny? Because everyone keeps telling you, you're the backbone of this dealership. You're the heartbeat of this place. You're the most profitable part. Sales sells the first car. Service sells 2, 3, and 4. So what we need to do to make this thing no longer the pilot that we're working on, but to create some permanency, we need to make this thing a function of our dealership because everyone else is eating your lunch and the customers want it. Follow the 2 rules. We got to treat it like a sales initiative. I'm going to show you some examples.
Did they just free? You got substance that on the month out on the other out. And what was out here? It goes without saying, I've got a store, really, I stepped in next part. The walk over, it's got one over the floor, it's like a black hose. The Pacific Northwest, we get our parts of moving stuff looked at for out. So I do want to thank them as a team, even at Ponto, anything he said on my side, but that's why we don't have those five of them. So the win, you can tell me, it doesn't matter what's the problem, it's a trend. They're all 3 sober. We don't let each other sell. What's got another amount was a very, very short period of time. If you're not saying you let Cooper, the name, I love you, congratulations.
That's what we're going to do in service from now on. Collaboration, no silos. Go get the belt. Go compete. When you hit your first mobile service, 100 mobile service, talk about it. Tell everyone about it. Check out what's going on the screen here. This is not a coincidence. I'm going to break this down. I literally saw this a couple days ago and I'm like, can't believe we got to throw this thing into our slots. This is LinkedIn. This is Toyota of Carlsbad. getting a challenge from the factory to sell 550 units. Can we stop for just 2 seconds and think about this? On everything that needs to happen and what's happening behind me for that to take place? That means the vehicle sales field manager, the guy that runs and the gal that runs, all the district managers at that Toyota field office had to agree to a market challenge. I am not going to get into this because I think it's legal. I'm not saying that there was maybe an extra allocation of units, but they had to make sure that you had enough vehicles to be able to sell 550 units, right? You got to sell, you got to have 1,500 units on the ground. It's 33% turn rate. Your factory manager is commenting, let's go, let's do this. The district manager is like, let's go, let's do this. By the way, there's a customer commenting in there like, do you have any Siennas that you need to sell? So then that means what happened? The dealer principal and the general manager had a meeting. And he said, let's do this. We're going to sell 550 units. Did you get everybody in that meeting? You did, right? You had this GSM. You had the finance director. You had the sales managers. There was an email that went out. There's a bunch of Post-it notes in the break room. There's some flyers. You even pulled in the service manager and said, get ready for this throughput. We're about to recon a bunch of cars and we need a lot more inspection space. And then when we run a service initiative, it's that guy or gal over there near the broom closet that's running this. That's not fair. It's also the most profitable part of your business, just so we're all in remind you. This is a text message from a friend of mine who is the vice president of fixed ops at the American Automotive Group. Steve Cornelius and his team, they own 8 dealerships in Northern California, Central California. And he sent me a text and he goes, you know how serious it is? We send out 3 text messages to the dealer principal and every single executive manager and every single GM and fixed ops director, service manager, and parts manager. Every single one, and there's like 70 people on these text messages every single morning. And it's just the quick KPIs. So to create something permanent, you have to measure it. You have to manage it. You have to have accountability. So this is Stevens Creek Toyota. They know that I'm showing them this data. They just added at the bottom of this about 2 weeks ago, the number of mobile service appointments every single day. Is that level of awareness and accountability what takes place when you start working on a new initiative? It has to, right? Guys and gals, we have to make this permanent. We have to make this a part of our core fabric of what we look at every single day so we can hold each other accountable on this thing. Fun fact, it's a Toyota dealer in Northern California. They had one vehicle, if I'm not mistaken, 6 appointments per day booked out for 3 weeks. Just ordered 5 BZs to be upfitted a couple days ago. Because they cannot pay for the CSI that they're getting out of this. Okay, these are the steps to activate it in every department. Sales and service, have the conversation. We're going to talk about the fact that we need to make this a sales value proposition. We got to operationalize it with the schedule and the tech. There's a bunch of providers in here. Call us if you need to, but there's a significant amount of technology that can help you do this. This needs to be promoted across the board. And then 88% of this still takes place through your BDC. So what does it sound like when you go, hey, thanks for calling Amit's Toyota. Would you like to bring your vehicle in or would you like us to come to you? And the weird silence you hear is what you're going to hear on the other side of the phone with the customer also. They're like, what? That's kind of cool.
DFG. Please stop each other. You'll see here at Contact Simulator NC. We're bringing you the console's largest mobile group suite of sassy suite units to find to you to enhance ready to handle your routine maintenance. No one waiting about to feel it. The last homes or 6 homes in the office. So if you look at that state of work zone that never stop moving, we can determine them right on the swap site so you're running soon running simply. That's insanity is what to your door. How's this one? Anything more?
Back to you and me. Service manager, AI tool, maybe $500. You've got to keep this visible. Marketing is the last component that people think about, but it's got to be a part of the process. The website has to have a clear path to book mobile service. It has to have equal footing as express lubes and regular service. It has to be mobile optimized. You have to send your text messages out with a simple self-service scheduling link to say, just come back to the store or not. We'll come to you. And then that wrapped van that says factory authorized technician, that says oil change, recall, brakes, tires, just like your plumber does when they're in your neighborhood and they're showing all of the neighbors everything that they do. Even though it's out there, most of the time, no one knows that you're doing mobile service. A bunch of folks in here raised their hands earlier, right? I think somebody asked who was doing mobile service, and as several of you guys raised your hands, 60% of the customers still don't know you're doing it because how are you doing all the other things that we just talked about? So we got to put the marketing stuff towards the front, just like we do when it comes to a sales role. Retention is cheaper than conquesting. I'm not saying anything new to anybody in here. Those rolling billboards are very real. In our platform, when we optimize for every single dealership, we have now added 4 to 5 minutes at the end of every appointment to give the dog a dog treat and to say hello to the neighbors who are asking, how the heck did you get them to come to you? Just hit the QR code on the side of our vehicle and we'll do it for you next week also. And let's be clear here real fast. Again, with all due respect, because I've already offended everybody by this point. It is a sales differentiator. To be fair, if I was to come to your dealership, most of the time car dealerships roll like this when it comes to sales. We have significant, massive inventory. That's awesome because I just want one car, so I don't really care. We're going to treat you like family. If you knew my family, that necessarily wouldn't be a good thing. We're going to be super nice to you. I hope so. I'm about to spend $48,000 with you. But then if you were to say to this customer, the vehicle that you buy here for the next 2 years comes with mobile service, so you can get that Tesla treatment without the Elon BS. Okay, now you have me.
It's been double punch sorted that almost days. In that city, they looked at the guys in the past that has really I mean you yeah. It's what I did. I thought things I thought I would think that he was for the husband. The classic the fox sauce, yeah. So, I think you get these days when they fine. The other was it's always a problem. So they have multi-sources and GDP and out also is with you had done and on that telephone. Or this is by doing another point to the study. So office further. That's it.
We know that it sells cars, and if you got to get everybody's attention, no matter what we talk about, you got to talk about the fact that it's going to sell cars. I remember the data point when I was a field manager. I think if somebody serviced with you 2 or 3 times, they're 80% more likely. It looks like it's 89% now. And then the customers that are willing to come back to the dealership, they're 2 times more likely if they get service. I don't think any of these stats are new, and I don't think anybody doesn't believe them. We all know that we are creatures of habit. When we come back to a place and we find a level of trust, that's why plumbers do $99 rooter inspections and clear outs. It's not because they're making money on that $99 one, but it's when your water heater goes out, you're the one that has a sticker though. I'm going to go back to one slide if I can. I wanted to show another example of a really cool video or two. Okay. Here's the example of when somebody spends $4,800 on mobile service video.
It's free. Well, this is one with our time of London. To work helpful of certainty and a lot as well. Is it doing the single model against the seven? Anything on the backing on the third question, single easily fall, the guy got to catch my all for the council to an one answer. And if any other service don't require, you can reject them or even take your car off it. We've found to keep a cycle with us a little finger. Yeah.
The biggest takeaways are knowing your market. They're in San Francisco. They know what the customers over there care about, so they talked about it. I got 2 more slides and I'm done here. I promise. Gosh, I can't get this clicker right. Anyway, we're going to skip that video. I was going to show you a video that is $500. With that being said, to recap, we got to keep these customers in our orbit. We got to offer this. We got to make it permanent. We've got to measure the KPIs, and it's got to be a part of our process. And I'm going to steal a line from everybody's favorite presenter in the automotive industry, Brian Benstock, a.k.a. Wayne Gretzky. If you haven't heard of Brian Benstock, he just signed with Curbee, and they're the world's largest Honda and Acura dealer. To us, it's about skating to where the puck is, not where it's been. I hope this is super helpful for you guys, and appreciate any feedback or questions. Thank you.
All right. Nicely done, Amit.